welcome to this webinar. It's really a pleasure to be here with you, sharing all of these tips and ideas that I have for you. I hope you enjoy them. And so, well, let's get started. So phonics in pre-primary, a great place to start. So the first thing is, what is phonics? Do you know what is phonics? What made you come to this webinar? If you can, write down on a sheet of paper that you have there. For you, what is phonics? What do you know about phonics? What would you like to know? And at the end, maybe you can also write what you learned from this webinar, okay? So you stay like with the meaningful learning that you're going to get from here, okay? So what is phonics? So phonics is a method to teach how to read and write in English. But for a young child who is learning English as a second language, learning to read and write in English is the last part of the process. Why am I saying this? Because before we want to teach a child who's learning a second language how to read and write, there are many steps that we have to follow before, okay? And I'm going to be explaining you these steps so you have them in your mind and you include them in your lesson plans and in your classes, okay? It's going to be very easy. It's going to be very fun, okay? So let's see, what's the first step? Step 1. The first thing that we have to do before or to prepare our little kids to read and write in English in the future is listen to the music of the language. Okay, what do I mean by this? When we start learning a new language, we start listening to it, yes? We start listening to all the sounds. And this is like, okay, the music of the language is when you listen to someone speaking a language that you don't know, for example, I don't know, French, maybe you are going to know that they are speaking French because of the music of the language, because of how it sounds, because of the sounds that go up and down, yes? Even though you do not understand the words. Once you start learning French, you will know that those sounds are words, and then you are going to know that those words have a meaning, okay? But before learning a new language, we just starting to listen to the music of the language, to all of those sounds that do not have meaning. That is the first step. And this step comes with the same way that we learn our own mother tongue, okay? When we were in our mom's womb, we started listening to the music of the language through the amniotic liquid, and we started storing all the sounds that our mom spoke in our brain. Yes, we started learning our mother tongue from our mother's womb. That's why it's called the mother tongue and not the father's tongue, okay? Because we started learning our mother tongue from here. So we started storing those sounds in our brain. So the same happens when we're learning a new language. So this is super important, and it's the first step. So why this is so important when learning English and to prepare our students to read and write in the future? Because there are 44 sounds in English, a lot of sounds, a lot of different sounds. And some of these don't exist in other languages. Maybe you speak a different language that is not English, and you will see that in your own language, there are sounds in English that you don't have, okay? And maybe you have some sounds that English doesn't have, okay? So in English, there are 44 sounds in English, and children need to learn them. How are they going to learn these sounds? Okay, number one, by listening to different people speaking English. Okay, so this is super important because you have to speak in English all the time with your students when you are in the class, so they can start storing those sounds of the new language in their brain, okay? So try to speak as much English as you can when you are with them, even though they're very little, okay? They can also listen to different people with the audios that you're using with the program that you're using, okay, in your classes. The audios are like the role models, okay? So when they listen to these people speaking English, they are also listening to the correct pronunciation and to the sounds, okay? And maybe some other people that are going to be around them, maybe some other teachers at school, maybe someone at home speak in English, okay? It doesn't matter. But it's important that a lot of people speak in English with them, okay? What happens if they only listen to English when they are at school, okay? You can ask them to listen to songs and rhymes, okay? At home and at school, this is a very powerful tool because songs and rhymes are super fun and because they can learn a lot of vocabulary through songs and rhymes, okay? And this is a super tool, as I was telling you, because songs and rhymes help you to make your lesson plan and your class fun and dynamic, okay? I'm going to explain why this is also so important to the brain in a minute. But listening to songs and rhymes is super important. You can include them in your lesson plan at the beginning to open your class, in the middle as transition activities, okay, in between activities, in between the heavy learning periods, okay, to let them rest and reconnect and concentrate again in what's coming next, and at the end to wrap up your class, okay? So you can do this a lot. And by watching TV shows and movies, maybe you're going to show some videos in your class, maybe not, but it's important that you suggest parents to ask their little kids to watch TV shows. Maybe they can switch the language at home, so they can see how the cartoons are speaking, and maybe they are going to see by how the cartoons or the characters are moving, they're going to be, you know, learning even new words. So this is important to have them being involved, okay, in this environment of this language through different ways. Okay, and so why is it important, as I was telling you, to include so many songs in the classroom? Because music is key to learning, okay? The brain remembers information better when it's associated to music, and this is super important. For example, when you want to remember a song, the first thing that you start doing is to saying, okay, this song was like la 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 la. Okay, you start like remembering first, like what's behind the words, the melody, yeah, like the music. Just start remembering the music, and then the words come to your mind. Okay, so it's like a vehicle. It's like a vehicle. Music is like a vehicle to remember all what you're learning. Okay, and so I just wanted to tell you this so you don't forget that music is super important, and to include as many songs and rhymes as you can. And because rhythm and rhyme help the brain store the information in the long-term memory. For example, when you are trying to remember something or to remember vocabulary words or a list of vocabulary, don't you do this like you add rhythm to the words, okay? So maybe you are like, I don't know, you're trying to remember a list of words, and you are, or I don't know, maybe the list or the list that you make to go to the supermarket, and you want to memorize it, and you start milk, bread, and you just start doing like this, and then somehow with movement and with rhythm, you remember when you are in the supermarket. Yes. Okay, so rhythm and rhyme help the brain store the information in the long-term memory so you don't forget it, okay? Okay, so you listen to all these sounds all the time, and the second step is to look at how people who speak English move their mouth to produce the sounds. This is super important too. And this also comes from how we also learn our mother tongue, okay? So when we were babies and we were born, then we said, okay, we started storing these sounds in our brain when we were not born yet, okay? And when we were born, we started seeing that people who approached to us was moving their mouth and they were producing the sounds. So we were looking, okay? And somehow we realized that if we moved our mouth in a certain way, we were able to produce certain sounds, okay? So this is something that we also have to pay attention to, because there are many sounds in English, as I told you, that children don't know in their own language and can have trouble saying them, okay? For example, yes, this sound, for example, in Spanish, it doesn't exist and it's very tricky, okay? So this sound is very tricky and sometimes children, okay, do not know how to say it and they get confused. So we have to teach them how to put, for example, to make their tongue between their teeth. Otherwise, some pronounce or they pronounce like because they sound similar. Yeah. So for example, they say Thursday instead of Thursday. Yes. Have you noticed this, for example, in some of your kids? So this is something that you can also do when you are giving your class. Okay. When you are, for example, presenting some vocabulary words, you usually show the flashcard, you say the word, and you ask your students to repeat it, okay? So you have to pay attention at how they are pronouncing the word. And for example, if they are not saying the sounds or the word properly, you can start practicing it with them. For example, if they are going to say, okay, so if you ask them, what day is today? And they say, today is Thursday. And you're going to say, oh, okay, listen. It's not Thursday. Look at me. Look at my mouth. Thursday. Okay, everybody. Thursday. And then you model and they repeat. It doesn't matter if you exaggerate. Okay? You can do Thursday. And they're going to copy you. They're going to laugh. They're going to have fun. And they're going to remember. Okay? The same happens, for example, when they are counting. So when you tell them, okay, how many objects are here? And some says 1, 2, 3. No, they do that. And so you tell them, oh, 3 or 3. Okay. And then you can also correct. So that's why it's important that you correct how they produce the sounds so that they produce them properly. And so they can also start speaking properly. Okay. And I put this picture of the mouth making different sounds because you can also play with them. Once you start teaching the letters, you can also play with them how to say each one of them. And this is also fun. Okay, the third step. The third step is learn that each sound that I say, that's called a phoneme, is represented by a letter of the alphabet, and that is a grapheme. Okay, so that is the third step, and that's where things start getting very exciting. Okay, but Lorena, you told me that there are 44 different sounds in English, and I know that there are only 26 letters in the alphabet. So what are we going to do? So don't worry, we got you covered, okay? Many of those letters can make different sounds. Many others are combined to give all the sounds English has, okay? So that's why it's important to know. There are different sounds. Some letters make some sounds, but some of these 44 sounds are made by 2 letters or are combined by different letters, okay? So this is also good to know, okay? When teaching phonics. So when children see a letter and they can say the sound it represents, they are decoding. This is a process that includes visual and auditory discrimination skills, as well as memory and attention skills. This is something that you're going to start doing all the time, okay, when you're teaching English. When you're teaching vocabulary, you are teaching visual and auditory discrimination skills. And also, you are helping your students by repeating those things all the time, the vocabulary words, to store that information, okay, in their long-term memory, okay? And you also have to develop attention skills so they don't forget that information, okay? So you have to play a lot of games to help children learn letter sound correspondence. And what is letter sound correspondence? Okay. For example, if I show them letter C, I say, okay, look, everybody, this letter makes sound, okay? And when they are able to look at the letter and make, they are decoding, okay? So visually, they are looking at a letter and they are discriminating. How they are discriminating? If I show them for example, visually, okay, yes? So visually, they are looking at 2 letters and they have to discriminate it. Okay, visually, this is k and this is the, yes? They are discriminating the sounds, and all of the games that I'm going to explain to you right now is so that they are able to say, if you say, point to the letter that makes the sound, they are able to do this and not this, okay? That is to discriminate visually and auditory, okay? I mean, to use auditory and visual discrimination, okay? So, let's see. What's the first game? Okay, the first game to learn to do this is display letter cards on the board, as I was telling you. Have children look for the correct letter and circle it or hit it with a fly swatter, okay? So maybe you are going to display these letter cards, okay? I'm going to show you some. Okay. So first you present the letters, okay? You present the letters and you say, okay, children, cat, car, yes? Can, okay? And they are going to produce the letter. So say the sound again, and then you start naming some children so they say the sound too, okay? So you elicit the sound. And you do that with all of the letters that you want to introduce, okay? And then you put them on the board, okay? And so you display the cards on the board and you say the sound. K, ah, yes? So what you can do is to invite a child to come over, okay? And then you say the sound. And you ask them to circle the correct letter or maybe to hit it with a fly swatter. I don't have a fly swatter, but I made this for you for an idea. And then you say, and they have to come and they have to hit it, okay? This is super fun to do. They love to do this. I'm going to show you something here. They love to do this, and maybe you can even, after you repeat this all the time, you can divide the class into 2 teams, and you can have 2 different fly swatters. If you don't have a fly swatter, you can do something as I did. That's a little stick with I mean, with whatever you want to paste on top, okay? The idea is that it's fun. So what you do is that you ask a member, okay, you divide your class into 2 teams, and then you ask a member of each team to go to the back of the class, and then you display the cards, and you give each member a different fly swatter. 1 for team 1, 1 for team 2, okay? And then, for example, you say, with this example that I have here, listen to the sound. They have to run and they have to come and hit the correct letter. And the first one who hits it first will get a point for the team. And the team with the most points wins the game, okay? This is super, super fun. They love to do it. My students, when I was a teacher, oh, they love to do this game. So I'm sharing this with you. And something I wanted to share when we are doing this kind of activities is especially this. Okay, so imagine this is your board, and look at where I put the flashcards. Okay, so when we are presenting our flashcards, vocabulary and everything, we tend to display the cards on top of the board, yes, so that everybody can see them. But if you are going to ask someone to come to the front to work with these flashcards, make sure that you put them in a height they can reach, okay? Because remember that your kids are very little, okay? And sometimes you ask them to come to the board and say, okay, circle. And they are jumping because they can't reach the letter. It's, you know, it's too high for them. So make sure that you put them in a height they can reach, okay? So that they are able to circle it properly, or to hit it, or to reach it, okay? That is like a tip I wanted to share with you, because sometimes we forget, and sometimes we want to solve the problem that's saying, oh, okay, don't worry. And then you bring a chair or a stool and you ask them to stand up so they can reach. But to avoid the accidents, it's better just to put the flashcards, you know, at the bottom of the board. Okay, another game that you can play. Well, these are the fly swatters, and with different colors if you're going to form teams and to play with them. Those are super nice tools to have as teachers. Okay, another thing that you can do is to put the letters in a bag, okay? So you have your letter cards, and you put them in a bag, okay? And then you play some music, and you ask children to pass the bag, you know, around, like the hot potato game. And then you stop the music and you ask the child who has the bag to pull out a letter, look at it, and say the sound it makes. Rrr, yes? And maybe a word that starts with that sound. Rrr, rat, okay? You can also do that. It is super fun. They love to do it. Love it. Okay. Another thing they love to do is you say a sound, and then you ask children to model the correct letter with clay. Okay, the children, little kids, oh, they love to play or work with clay, right? So first, you give everybody a little piece of clay, and you're going to start modeling letters. Okay, so let me explain you something very important about clay. Okay, in the future, you're going to be teaching your little kids to write. Yes, and to write, they have to be able to put the fingers here, the pencil grip, to hold the pencil and to hold it properly to be able to write. The same thing happens when you ask them to hold the crayon to color. Yes, you will see that maybe your little kids, very, very little, grab the crayon like this. This is because they haven't developed their fine motor skills. So what can we do to strengthen the fingers? Give them a little piece of clay, okay? We have to work all this part of the hand and the fist and the fingers to make them strong. So then they have the enough strength to hold the crayon or the pencil properly, okay? So by doing this, by doing this, I'm pressing with the finger, okay? They are strengthening their hands, okay? So something you can do, and because they love clay, is to ask them to model the correct letter with clay. If they are very little, you can also give them a letter card, okay? You can also give them a letter card, okay? And you can say the sound of the letter. You can show, okay, one thing you can do. You can display the card on the board. You ask your students to look at the letter, okay? And then you say, ah, and with clay, they have to model the letter, okay? And so they are able to form the letter, okay? If you see that your little kids need extra help, you give them a letter card and they model it on top. So they model it on top, okay? You're giving them certain help. At the beginning, they will need it. They model it on top, and so they form it properly, okay? So you can do these things. And oh, kids love it, love it. You can have a lot of fun, okay? Another idea is to give children a set of letter cards, again, and say a sound and have children look for and show you the correct letter. So for example, you give them a set of letter cards, okay? And so they have them on top of their table and you say the sound, okay. So they have to look at the letters they have and they have to show you the correct letter, okay? So they can, you know, show it to you. You can also do that. And all of these games that I'm telling you are working with visual and auditory discrimination skills. And also because they are getting involved by doing, by looking, by playing, they are storing all this information in their long-term memory, okay? Another thing is that you can show a letter card and children say the correct sound. Okay, so if I say, what sound does this letter make? And you can have the answer. You give me the answer. Yes? Ah, okay. Okay, something important. The brain learns better when it's playing. So basically, when we tell the brain that we're going to start learning something, it starts like, okay, is it going to be difficult or is it going to be easy? No, I don't know. And so it starts getting nervous. And what happens is if we start getting nervous, we start feeling stressed. For example, if I tell you, oh, phonics, okay, so we're going to be teaching how to read and write with phonics. Oh my God, phonics, I have heard about that. And I thought it was super difficult. So the brain starts getting stressed. Phonics, okay, don't get stressed, okay? When the brain is playing, it relaxes and it forgets that it's learning, okay? So that's why when it's playing, it learns better. Because when we are stressed, we tend to either attack or to go away, okay? How do we know that a child in the classroom is feeling stressed? Because they start attacking, they start bothering someone, okay? Because what they are learning is stressful. So I prefer to do something else and to bother or to attack or to bother somebody, okay? Or start yelling or screaming or misbehaving, yes? Another way we know that a child is stressed in the classroom is when they want to go away is because they start, teacher, may I go to the bathroom? And then you suddenly see that everybody wants to go to the bathroom, yes? That is because your children are feeling stressed. So a good way to sense if your children are feeling stressed is to see, to learn to see these signs. And if they are doing that, it's time to stop what you're doing, ask them to read, relax, play a song, move, you relax, you're having fun, and you can continue, okay? So the brain learns better when it's playing. And all that the brain learns through play stores in the long-term memory. So you have to include always, always, always a lot of games in your class, okay? Something very nice that Doodletown has is that it has a lot of games. They suggest a lot of games, and they have some learning centers that I really like and I want to show you. This is another game, and it's with a pocket chart. So basically here they have flashcards with pictures, and they have to listen to the sound and see to discriminate. They have to see if those pictures have the sound in the word. For example, ball, turtle, yes. So you put the flashcard in the pocket chart. Toys, yes. Table, yes. And you put them in the pocket chart, okay? That is another game that you can play. And well, these are just ideas, but make sure that you include a lot of games, okay? Okay, and now the fourth step. And this is where things really get very, very exciting. So the fourth step is blend to read. So we blend the sounds to read. When we combine sounds, we can form words. And when we associate an image, an object, or an action to those words, we can know what they mean, okay? So basically, a word plus a picture gives meaning. Let me show you how. Okay, everybody, can you please show me a word in Braskem? No? What are you talking about, Lorena? What's a word in Braskem? Okay, a word in Braskem is a word that I invented, okay? But I'm going to show you, I'm sure you all have a word in Braskem at home. Are you ready? That is a word in Braskem. Yes? And you're like, oh, that is a word in Braskem? Now I know what is a word in Braskem. So a word plus a picture gives you meaning. Yes? And I wrote my word that I invented. A word plus a picture gives meaning. Now, if I tell you, everybody, please, can you show me a word in Braskem? Do you have one? Yes, I have one. Okay. This is very important for you to know because this is the way your children feel about English. We say a word, but unless we give them a picture for them to know what that word means, they are not going to understand it. So if we want our students to be able to know what a word that they see as they read it, what that word means, then we have to give them a picture. We have to make them understand what that word means. Okay? So that's why it's super important when we're teaching vocabulary to show the picture and maybe to have the word written below. Okay, so they start making the connection. Okay? And so, once a whole word is decoded and we can understand it, the reading process has started. Yay! This part is super incredible. When you start seeing that your little kids start, decoding all the sounds you see and forming words and reading words. It's really very, it's amazing. It's like magic. So all of your kids will get there, okay? So remember to play lots of games to make blending fun. And I'm going to show you what you can do. What types of games can you play? Okay, so you can say a word and you can ask children to put the letters that form it together. Okay, so you're going to give your little kids a set of cards, okay? And then you say cat, and they have to look at the letters that they have, and they have to put the letters that form the word, okay? And you walk around looking what they are doing and helping, etc. Okay? That's one of the games that you can do. Another one, say a word and have children model it with dough or with clay. Okay, so the same thing with clay, okay? So you can give them the letter cards, and if they need help, they can model them on top or not. Maybe they already know how to form that letter with dough and they can do it without help. But you can do it with both, with help or without help. You will see, okay? So they model the letters, okay, with clay, and they form the words. They love to do this. They super love to do this. Remember, when we are involved in our learning process, we remember things better, okay? So have children get involved, like with their hands, with their body, okay? That's super important. Okay. Play a matching game with letters, words, and pictures. For example, you can also put the letters, okay? You can also display the letter cards. I'm going to show you how. So you display the letters, okay? You display the letter cards. And then okay, so you display, I don't know if you can see. So you display the letter cards, can you see them? Like this, okay? And you ask someone to come to the board and they have to look at the letters and they match to the word and they match to the picture, okay? You can put different words there. Another one, you also display the word cards on the board. You say the sounds that form a word and you have students circle or hit it with a fly swatter, okay? So you put cat, you put rat, I don't know, can, all like the words that you are teaching, okay? So for example, if you're teaching sound k, as in cat, as in car, as in can, to teach them this, okay? And so you ask a student to come to the board and you say cat, and they have to discriminate visually, and they can say, no, this is not, this is not, this is it, and they circle it. The same thing with the fly swatter. Okay, car, this is not, it's this one, okay? And they hit it. They love to do this. Also, say the sounds of a word, have children blend them in their mind and say the word. For example, if I say k, a, What's the word that I said? Can. Okay? So you say the sounds, they blend them in your mind, and then you elicit the word. All right? You can also do that. Okay, so as I was telling you, when we are relaxed, we can learn better. That's why we need to create an environment where children feel happy and are having fun. This is super important, and I'm repeating it a lot because I don't want you to forget it. Okay? Okay, so this is important for you. Remember that you're going to be teaching phonics in pre-primary. Okay, you're going to set the basis. Okay? After blending, children will learn to decode consonant, vowel, consonant words, as I was showing you. This is a consonant, vowel, consonant, okay? Then consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, or consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant words, vowel and consonant digraphs and trigraphs, and so on, okay? But that is going to be done little by little and step by step, okay? In the future. This process will take time and might be completed when students reach second grade, okay? So don't worry. And all of the programs guide you, okay? The programs that you're going to have, the books that you're going to have, they are going to guide you in the process. They're going to tell you which letters to introduce and everything. So you're going to have help, so don't worry about that, okay? Okay, now, once children start decoding sounds, we have to help them become fluent readers. Why? Because if they can say k, a, t, but they are not fluent, that means they cannot blend them quickly. They don't know what the word means. So sometimes children are like, k, yes, because they are learning to blend them. They are learning to decode each and blend them, yes? But we have to help them to become fluent readers, because fluency leads to comprehension. Once they are able to do this quickly, cat, 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 yes? They're going to say, oh, cat, I know that word. And then they're going to start understanding what they are reading, okay? So that's why fluency is super important. This process takes time and may be completed by some students by the end of second grade. Proper reading comprehension will appear when children start third grade, okay? So this process is also going to take time little by little. As they learn more words, they can understand more words little by little, okay? So how do we do this? Okay, so little by little, when we start teaching them pre-reading skills, we can start presenting stories in small books that we make or that we can have handy that include words that are formed with the letters and sounds they have learned that we're teaching, or presenting small sentences that have the words that contain the sounds they have learned. For example, if they have learned letters S, A, T, N, I, P, for example, they can read the following sentence. Pat is an ant. They can read it, but are they really understanding what they are reading? So you can add pictures below the nouns and verbs, because remember, the nouns and verbs are words that give meaning, okay? So children understand the words and you start developing early reading comprehension. How? You put the sentence, Pat is an ant, and then you put a picture. And they're going to say, oh, yeah, I know what is an ant. Yes? Okay. You can also introduce riddle sentences that have pictures and words that we consider high frequency words, and children learn by sight. And these words help build a correct sentence in English. That is super important, because if I only say pat ant, I mean, it's good, but the correct way to build a sentence is with some verbs and some connectors and some articles. Yes, those are maybe the high frequency words they are going to learn, because they are always going to hear them or see them. For example, when we are drilling, when we are, what is it? It's an And we are the it's and, it's just part of the chunk, yes? And the word we're teaching is and. But we're repeating this structure all the time. So by the time that they look at it is written, they already know. They already know. I mean, we do not have to explain those words, okay? Because they learn them. They just get them. Those are high frequency words. So I color them here in a different color. That is an and. That's a real sentence, okay? Something that I also like about Doodletown is that it provides stories with rebel sentences, okay? With the vocabulary that they are learning in the unit, so you can practice it, okay? But look at this cutie. Okay, this is one of the pages of one of the books. So here it says, this is my red car. Yes, so they can start reading this. This is my blue car. Okay, something super important when they start reading is to have children point to each word and picture as they read to help the brain make the connection between the sound of the word and the shape of the word. The brain has to see the word and they have to hear the sound and they have to make the connection. Okay, so that's why it's super important to ask them to point to each picture. Okay, so don't forget to do that, to ask them to do that. Okay, now they're learning to read. And now the next step, step 6, write. That's the last part of the process, write. And so with decoding comes encoding, that means writing. Children need to learn to write each letter first, and little by little, when they start learning them, they will start writing short words, okay? The same thing that we did with reading, that first they listen to the sound, they blend them and everything. Now they're going to do it, but writing, okay? But to be able to do this, you have to consider the following, and this is super important, okay? We learn with our body. We are our own reference when we are involved in the learning process, because I read from my left to my right, yes? From my top to my bottom. I also write from my left to my right, yes? From my left to my right. So we are our own reference. And so this is super important. So before asking the children to trace over the letters that are printed on their books, which have a very small size, first they have to learn what is left and right, up and down, in and out. That is super important too. Why? Because we're going to be asking them to write letters inside the line. Yeah. So we have the line, okay, here, can you see? Okay, we have the line, and we are going to ask children to write, yes? But if they don't know in, they can, sometimes they do this, above the lines, yes? They have to learn to respect these boundaries, okay? And to do it inside. So first they need to learn with their body what is to be in, yes? So then they are able to know what it is to be, to write in, inside the line, okay? With their body. So then they are able to do this, okay? Little by little, okay. So this is super important to develop a successful reading and writing process. So for example, what can you do to teach up, down, left, and right? So you can play this game. So you display arrows on the board with different colors, maybe if you want, and you first say, okay, up, down, left, right. You can even model it, okay? So you model it with your arms and you say up, and you ask students to do up to, down, and then left and right, okay? Obviously, they're going to be copying you for left and right. You will have to do it the other way around, okay? So they know where to move their arms because they're going to be in front of you, okay? So do you want to do this activity with me? Okay, so if this game goes as this. So first you model the movements, and then you either ask them to stand up or do it with their arms, okay? We're going to do it with our arms. Ready? So listen to the commands and copy me, okay? So we say up, down, left, right, right, left, up, down, okay? You can also do it very quickly. So you add challenge, and you can also start mixing. You can also ask them to stand up and jump, okay? And you can also use this activity as a transition activity, or as an activity to prepare or before asking students to write. So when you ask them to stand up after they have been looking at you and paying attention for a certain amount of time. So, by the way, remember, the span of attention for a little kid, it's their age by 3. So if your kids are 5 years old, by 3, it's 15. So they will pay attention between 15 and 20 minutes, okay? So remember, plan activities that are short and snappy and no more than 20 minutes, okay? So in between those activities that will last 20 minutes, you ask them to stand up and to move. Maybe you're going to sing a song. Those are transition activities, and that is very important, okay? So play a lot of games. To help children learn the correct directionality of each letter, they have to trace over it first with their complete hand, moving their arms so they are able to make the strokes with their wrist. So first they have to move all the arm, so then they are able to do this, okay? So what can you do? You can draw big letters on the board or on construction paper, and you can ask them to go and with paint or with chalk or with markers, you ask them first to trace over the letters following the arrows, okay, the directionality, as they say the sound. Ah, ah, yes. And then they are going to be able to do this. Ah, but first they have to do it with the whole arm, okay? You can also air trace the letters as you say the sound, as I'm doing it right now, and the children copy you, okay? You can also draw big letters on the yard with chalk, and you can ask children to walk over them. It's super important to do that so that afterward, when they interiorize the movement, they can do it in their books. And another important thing to consider, check that children have a correct position to write. So after you do the up, down, left, right, so they remember the commands, you have to have a routine. Okay, everybody, sit properly. Sitting properly is my back is straight and my feet are on the floor. If the feet of my kids are hanging, put a stool or a box so they are not, so they are like on the ground, yes? Because that's going to give them a correct position. Check they put the notebook, paper, etc. in the correct position too. What's the correct position? Okay. This corner to my belly, okay? That's the correct directionality. Check they are not too close to the paper while they write, because we have to be able to see everything. So the correct position is the elbow and the wrist, okay? So they can see. And that they are holding the pencil properly, yes? If they have problems, you can give them a little piece of tissue and ask them to hold it with these fingers so then they are able to hold the pencil properly, okay? And that's it. The best of life is in your hands. Enjoy the journey along with your students as you teach them how to read and write in English. It was really a pleasure to be with you today. I hope that all these games and tips help you be successful in your class, and I wish you the best every day. And thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Lorena. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Well, thank you. That was absolutely brilliant, Lorena. That was an absolute marathon of activities and ideas and ways to introduce phonics to the students. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for putting together such an informative, and I think you just basically planned the year for all of the teachers that have come here today. So we've had some questions, and if it's okay, I wanted to ask you a few of them.
Yes,
so
of course.
One really quick one. I know I've just asked you to unshare your screen, but if you could share your screen again, because someone would like to see the picture of the slide with the rabbit and the turtle again. Would you mind just bringing that up? They'd like to take a photo of that. Yes. Amal, thanks for asking about that. You're going to be getting Lorena's slides in your follow-up email that you're going to get in a few days. So if you just check that email as well, that's another way that you'll be able to see that slide again.
Okay.
Is that okay, Lorena? Do you mind resharing the?
Yes.
Thank you.
There it is. There.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got some questions. If it's all right, I'm going to sort of quick fire some of them at you, if that's all right, Lorena. We've got quite a few of them here. So firstly, can you recommend any textbooks on phonics? And that was from Marina.
Well, for example, there are many textbooks, and I wouldn't I don't know, but for example, Doodletown, they provide this this specific literacy skills path that's on phonics, and you can definitely use that for phonics. There are other books that, for example, if you want stories, that they are very nice, because they start like that one. I have some here, but let me see. Hold on a second. So there are some stories that, for example, here, no, they are like, a pill will fix them bill, you see? So there are some textbooks that show different words in the text that are working with certain certain sounds, okay?
Brilliant.
So you can, I mean, different programs have, but and you can look for them. But what I know is that, yes, Doodletown provides the literacy skills path, and they provide these stories along with the student's book.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Lorena.
Yes,
so we've had lots of questions. So another question was asking, because you've got a bit of a background in learning difficulties, so I thought you could answer Mohammed's question here. So he's asked, firstly, can you please elucidate the relationship between phonics and reading comprehension? And the second part of his question is addressing the problem of learners with hearing disabilities, with a hearing impairment. So how can we raise the phonological awareness of students who have hearing difficulties, if you're able to?
I'm not an expert with hearing disabilities.
Right.
But I think that it will have to do with the sounds, by looking at the pictures and by looking at maybe, yeah, I'm really not an expert in
No,
here.
that's
I'm
fine,
sorry
Lorraine.
about
No,
that.
it's a
But
very sort of it's a specialist area, and that's fine.
yeah, but I think that it should be done as they teach, maybe with their hands. Maybe they're associating certain movements to certain letters.
Mhm.
I really don't know. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's
I'm
fine.
not an expert in hearing. Yeah.
No, no problem, Lorraine. Thank you. So, another question is, what age should we start phonics instruction in second language learning from Bilin?
Well, as I told you, phonics starts with the music of the language. So you have to start from the beginning with speaking to them in English all the time. There is when you start actually teaching, you know, you're setting the basis. If you don't teach from the beginning, since they are very little, when you get them in the first year of preschool, if you don't start with the sounds and music and everything that you do, then when they start reading and writing, that's going to be maybe the last year of preschool, they are not going to have those sounds. So you start from the beginning with a lot of, you have to start with a lot of music and a lot of repetition and showing a lot of vocabulary.
Right.
And you start, you know, correcting pronunciation and everything until you get to, you start playing with a lot of games that have to do with the skills, with visual and auditory discrimination and everything, so that afterward, when you start introducing the letters and the words and everything, they already have those skills and they can use them to for the next thing, you see, to start reading and writing.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So also someone has asked, Mohammed has asked about approaches for parents. So how can parents raise awareness of phonology, of phonics, at home? And he's also suggesting whether ICT tools would be something that could help there. Okay,
so as I told you, you can ask parents to, if they speak English, to speak in English to their little kids. So as much as they can receive from the language around them, okay? Mm-hmm. They can, as I told you, play some music at home in English while they are in the car, watching TVs, even reading to them. That is also very important. We are role models when we are reading. So if they know English and they are able to read them at home, books in English, that can also help them. Okay.
Okay. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Lorena. I think we're going to stop there, if that's all right. So once again, thank you so much for putting this presentation together and for coming at such an early time for you. Really, really grateful for you coming so early. And I think it's probably about time we let you go and have some breakfast.
Thank you so much, and thank you for joining.
Thanks, Lorena. Also, everyone, I've got to say a big, do you mind unsharing your screen as well, please, Lorena?
Yes, of course.
I've got to say a big thank you to Daria Fahina. She is there in the background doing everything to make this work. She's stitching it all together. So thank you very much, Daria, for helping prepare for this event. And yeah, your help is always very much appreciated. So I'm going to share my screen because I've had a few questions. I've seen a few questions, which I'm going to try and answer now. So as you saw in Lorena's talk just now, she was talking about a course called Doodletown. You will be glad to know, hopefully, that Doodletown first edition has now been updated, and we've got a second edition, which was launched hours ago. The website is live as of yesterday. So Doodletown second edition is now available for you to explore, find out about from your local rep if you'd like. I want to tell you a little bit more about the course now. Seeing as you've all come to a session on phonics, I think it would be a good time to bring it up. So she's talking about Lorena has spoken about the importance of phonics and used some examples from Doodletown. Doodletown explores early literacy and early numeracy and science. Although students can also develop social emotional skills and physical and cognitive skills too within the course. But focusing a bit more on the phonics side of Doodletown, there's a strong phonics base, and it provides students reading fluency and speed by systematically teaching them letter-sound relationships, just like you've seen in Lorena's talk just now, and how to decode simple words and blending. Throughout the course, there are songs and videos which stimulate children's curiosity to learn English and make this first contact with the language playful, enjoyable, and memorable, just like Lorena's talk she's just given to us. The phonics program within Doodletown provides a solid foundation in early literacy, which is then developed further through systematic reading and writing throughout global stage. So if you are teaching K-12 from 2 up until 12, or in your institution, you're doing 2 right up until 12, Doodletown Second Edition provides a perfect base for then moving on to the world-renowned course I'm sure you know about, Global Stage. It's a perfect 10-level program from preschool to primary.